All right. Johannes, thank you so much for doing this,
It's a pleasure to be here.
to have the audacity to be the first guest.
Yeah.
You released a game quite recently that you had developed independently, I guess with a couple of colleagues or friends. Would you
That's
like to tell me a bit about that?
um yeah. Um so like that's been my life for the past 2 years now, or actually like 3 years. I graduated like I think it was like 5 years ago, and I did some random freelancing jobs and so on. And then I got an offer from two guys that worked at Hazelight at the time. Which is a game studio in Stockholm that I know knew about. They asked me if I wanted to do a little side project with them, and I was like, oh, okay. Is there anything? Is there any pay? And they're like, no, there's no pay. Which for me was almost a must because that's what I was doing. I had freelance jobs. I had to take pay for it, but I got a good feeling from them, and so I jumped on that ship, and I've been on that for 3 years now. Uh, it has taken like all of my free time, at least this last year. It's been like the only thing I've been doing. I've been canceling so many things, like so many, like it. I like when you have like a prior list in your head
Yeah.
that has always been on top, and you have to like actively throw things away that you want to do, but you can't because if you want to finish something, you have to like put everything into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just released it like 6th December now. Like it's not I'm not in Bahamas on a boat. It hasn't been that good, but I'm super proud of the product, and like I'm proud of finishing something um, that I know so many people struggle to do, because creating games is such a long process. So it's really easy to somewhere during the line like mess it up. So I'm proud of that we managed to pull through, even though we weren't as good friends in the end as we were when we started.
So how many were you in the team?
We were three people, and then like I was doing graphics and also a lot of design. Like it when you're such a small team, everyone has so much to say about the product. It's like when you're at a bigger company. I'm also working at Hazelight, like as a visual effects artist, but
Hmm.
when you're a small team, you have opinions about everything, and so basically everyone is a designer. But also I'm on art, and then we have Per who was doing design and sound effects, and then Tycho who's like programming and design. And then we were like, okay, we need music because we have this little quirk to our game, that every ability and everything in the game is like timed with music, so it's on beats, which is also one of those fun things when you're making a small game with a small crew. You're putting your personality into the game. So I'm like interested in music, so obviously the game is gonna have to do something with music, even though it must doesn't really make sense. But it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I want that. That's cool. So, um, but yeah. So when we were like, okay, we need a musician for this, and I got on Discovery Weekly, Spotify, uh, a guy that I just liked his. I felt that his sound matched our game, if that makes sense. Like I just felt like okay, that is gonna make sense in our game. And I contacted him, and he was like, "Yeah, I could do it for free." I was like, "What?" Because we didn't have any budget, but now he obviously gets a percentage of the game. But yeah, so we're three people plus that guy.
Okay. And in the end, were you like the release? Was it independent from Hazelight, or are they like also taking a part?
No, we were completely independent, and that was like we had to disclaim that from the beginning that, or we had to like sit down and talk with Hazelight about how we wanted to things to be, since both me and Per are working at Hazelight.
Yeah.
Tico quit, but yeah, we had to like make some ground rules. Like, okay, let's not market it with Hazelight's name because then it can damage their brand, and they're connected with EA, so EA has a lot of like, so we just made sure that we're completely a separate product from that, and we have no like publisher and so on. So every marketing and all of that has been completely on us, and mostly on me, because I've been the guy that like has been single and living alone, so I had all the time in the world.
Yeah, I looked into it a bit and I saw like some, I guess that was not maybe your initiative, but some streamers who were like, I'm gonna try out this game, and you know, they review it, I guess, like many do today. But what kind of game is it?
So it's like the genres are basically bullet hell / bullet heaven, and bullet hell is when the enemies shoot out bullets from them that you have to dodge, and bullet heaven is like the inverse, so the heroes shoot out bullets like from the heroes towards the enemies. So we have kind of both of those elements, and then it's a roguelike, or roguelite, that you die, and you keep getting upgrades, like permanent upgrades. The more you die, so you get stronger, so you can finally progress. It's like a dynamic way of, if you're really good, you can complete it the first time, but if you're bad, you also will complete it eventually, because you get so many upgrades that you can, like, everyone can clear it in the end. But yeah, you play as two Archons, as we call it. The game is called Archons, so you have like one on each thumb that you control on a controller. We recommend everyone to play it on controller, because on keyboard it's a bit tricky, but it's doable.
Would you do like arrows and then WASD?
Yeah, that was, we had like so many, we thought like, okay, can we do it with mouse? But then there was so many problems, like how do we solve shooting, and but eventually you can rebind it, but we have like, you can play on WASD and IJKL or the arrows, and like it's tricky, because then you have to think about like, okay, if your thumb is there and your pinky is there, can you press, because it's such a weird thing that you control two characters, it hasn't really been done, so there's no good game that we can look at. But yeah, and you just try to complete 3 levels. It's one of those games that you play like on an evening, like just for 4 or 5 hours with a friend maybe. It's also co-op, so you can play it together. But yeah, it's not so story heavy. It's mostly like mechanics, but that's the kind of game that I like to play myself. And like I said earlier, like you create the game that you yourself want to play, and like you put yourself into the game. And I'm not so interested in story games, so.
So you said that you play over evening, like is it levels that you complete and then you're kind of done? Okay.
Yeah, so it's not one of those, okay, you put 40, 50. I mean, some people have like played it for like 100 hours, which is for me like, what are you doing in the game for 100 hours? But I mean, we have an endless mode, so you can repeat that over and over again. But the main game is like you complete a level, and then you face a boss, and then you complete another level, face a boss, and then you complete another level, and then you face the final boss, and then it's like the end, and then you put it on the shelf and you never play it again. But that's the kind of game that, I mean, when I was younger, I wanted more like competitive games, but now that you don't have that time to play games anymore, I kind of like those that has an ending, that you're like, okay, I play it and then I'm done with it, and I don't have to put all my life and resources into it.
So how does that work when like kind of having to know the market of games, like when you're working with it? Do you just like kind of look around, or do you feel like you have to play them to know what's going on the scene, I guess?
I think we did a mistake there, because that's one of the things I think we learned from this project. If we ever decide to keep creating games with this group, it's that like we just tried to almost reinvent the wheel from scratch. I felt like because we didn't play so many these kind of games. We came to the conclusion that many of them already had, but it took us so much longer. So we should have done more. Like we should have played more. We should have looked around. Okay, what game are we making, and what's the best 20 like closest games to that, and then we should have played them from start to finish. But for us, it was like, okay, what should we do? Let's make this game, and we tried to make a different kind of game. After like 1 year or like 9 months, we were like, we're not gonna. This is not gonna be done. It was way too overscoped. Like classic thing in game development that you take on too much. You have too much ambition in the project. It's gonna be like 10 year of development. So we just scrapped that idea, which was sad, but like, and then we started this one instead. But yeah, like I said, this one we should have done more research and like played other games, because now it was like, okay, how do we do a shop? Maybe we do it like this, and we put the buttons there and there, and like, okay. Then we like maybe looked a little bit at different projects and was like, maybe, but then we wanted to be so original that but I think it just took us more time and that it should have done.
Hmm. I had the feeling that it was kind of unique when I read and listened about it, with playing two characters at once. And you said that now as well, right? It's like the first almost.
Yeah, I think both. Like, I think every one of us felt like we wanted to do something that hasn't been done before, because I mean, the people that hate on the game, that when you read the forums like on Steam, it's like some people are like, this is so stupid. Someone's like, you should delete this from the surface of Earth. Like this shouldn't exist. They're so upset about like but just play another game. Like, but they really want it to be like one character, and they're like, this is so stupid. Why do you have two characters? But for us, it was like interesting to try something and try stuff that hasn't been done, and like, can we find new stuff? Like, I mean, sure, it would be good for us to look at other games in some aspects, but I also think we made pretty cool stuff now because we didn't do that. But I think you can do like a blend of it in a smarter way, so you take some stuff with you, yeah. But yeah, for sure that has been our uniqueness, is what everyone is saying. Like this game is very very unique. It has a unique feeling to it, and yeah, I'm like I said before, I'm super proud of it, even though it isn't like Minecraft sale numbers. It's like I'm super proud that we made our own game with it. Like it has a soul to it that is pretty unique.
I guess it's kind of hard, maybe to say as someone who has spent 3 years like focusing on this. But do you say like, do you enjoy it? Do you think it's fun
to play it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was fun all the way to the end. Like during development, you play so much. You like, because you have to test the levels and see that like everything is balanced. Is this ability better than that ability? And like, and I put so much time into that. And we were always like so confused that how we still think this is enjoyable to play. Like that's so weird. I mean, we have thousands of hours in that game. But yeah, I think when we released it, I was like, I don't want to look at this game anymore. I was because when we released it, I was so tired of it. And I still am kind of. Actually, we're gonna group up. We haven't, like, when we released it, we like, okay, I like muted all the chats. I was like, okay, guys, I'm taking vacation, and then our program has been like, we need to. He has been pushing for more engagement from us, but I felt like I was closing in on because we're also like, you call it crunch in the end of a game development. That's like the last, I don't know, it depends a bit. We had a crunch maybe half a year, a bit more. And we had that at same time on this game as we have on Hazelight, because Hazelight we just announced our new title as well, and that's really started stressing me out. Like I thought it didn't, but looking back on it now, it's like, oh, yeah, I was lucky it wasn't one more month, because I don't know if I could have handled that. But yeah, I haven't played it after we released it. I haven't opened it on Steam, but I've looked a lot of on videos when people play it. So yeah.
Did you have any post-performance depression? Like, now I've worked on this forever and all of a sudden it's just gone. I guess because you have a job as well, it maybe isn't as harsh, but
I think I mean, it has affected me because, but I mean, I recently, like during the end of I got a girlfriend, so she has like seen that transition from yeah, from that person to the post Archons person that is me. Like, so and it was fun. It was like I was watching highlights on hockey on my phone, and she was like, "Yeah, you can pull up the match on the TV if you want. I don't mind." And I was like, I don't have time to watch matches. I just watch the highlights nowadays." And it's just, but you have time now. Like, you already released it. And I was like, I just internalized that answer. It's like it's in my persona now. I don't have time with stuff.
yeah,
But I do have time. But I feel like I have to cleanse myself of some
of the crunch
Archons.
mode.
Yeah, like that person. I'm still the Archons person, but it's like I'm trying to get rid of that, or like shed the skin or whatever. I don't know. It's like I'm in that period now, and it's a bit weird. I talked to a friend also yesterday. It's like I feel like I have a deck of cards with like different hobbies and stuff, and I just have to like, okay, what do I want to do now? And I pick whatever cards I want, and I have some stuff that I'm interested in, but I'm like, it has been so clear up until this point what I should do with my time, but we'll see.
So, what does that kind of work look like day to day? You're primarily like an aesthetics guy, not so much programming and like mechanics and stuff, I guess.
Do you mean on the side project, or like in Hazelight?
I guess both. You can start with Archons.
Yeah, for Archons it's been like it's super flexible dependent on what we need. It's like one day it's I'm sitting on Reddit making super cringe marketing threads, like posting on different accounts. I don't know if you should say that, but yeah, you, like that kind of like you're like a shady marketing guy. And then another day you're like, okay, I'm sitting here writing code, balancing units. Like, okay, this one should deal damage on beats on music. Like you can sit and like tweak. My program usually sets up like systems so that, and he explains it to me so I can work in contained areas. Because I'm not a programmer, but I have like a technical background, so I understand code. But another day I can sit and like draw stuff, or I mean generate AI stuff and tweak it in Photoshop, and like it's super different and all over the place in Archons. In Hazelights it's more like since there I'm a VFX artist, so it's more like, okay, I sit and I create like water explosions, that kind of stuff, mostly in cutscenes, like cinematic stuff. But I have like my personality is quite. I'm interested in like personalities and communication and stuff like that. So I at Hazelight they give you they like push you to do what you're good at.
Hmm.
So I have the freedom to, if I see miscommunication in the team or if I feel like we're missing stuff, I'm also a person that I tend to go talk to people and like maybe spark some discussions and that kind of stuff. So it's not only like sitting and uh, creating effects all day. It's a lot of talking to people and yeah.
How much has I guess you haven't been in the industry for like eons exactly,
Mm.
but how much has AI changed the workflow, and do you think that is like a good thing overall, aesthetically and so forth, or?
Um, like I'm pretty pro small. Like if I look at the gaming industry and where it's heading, I think it's like the big companies are going away a little bit because I don't think we need earlier, like the early days it was really complex to make games like, but now I mean you can even create 3D models from, you can make a AI 2D image, you can put that into another AI program that makes a 3D model of it, and then you have like okay, and then like obviously that's not perfected at the moment, but you can see like okay, it's gonna get there because we're almost there.
Mm.
Um, and I think it's super. We used it a lot for UI. So if there's a button on the screen, I like generated. I like created a base shape. Okay, I want it to be a rectangle like this. Put that into there. Like okay, I want it to be a glowing thing. AI made that, and then I took into Photoshop and like adjusted some stuff to minimize the risk of having any like backlash community or stuff like that. And that if I were supposed to do that hand drawn, I wouldn't like this game wouldn't have been made, I think, or not in the quality it is right now. So I think it gives smaller teams huge potential to create games, and even more down the line. But it's it's still like a tool. You have to be good at it. I feel like at the moment, I don't know how it will be like 10 years, but I can only talk on how it is right now. Some people think like I talk to like we talk on Hazelight about this a lot as well, and Joseph like my boss at Hazelight, he's like people when he is at interviews, people think that it's like AI create game button, and you do that, and it's like, boop, but that's not the case. It's super super tricky to use AI at this moment. But yeah, it speeds up the process for small companies. So I think the backlash is really over. Like, there's a lot of hate on AI. Some people are like on a crusade to kill AI, like small companies that use AI, and I think that's super super sad because small indies should be. I mean, that's where the
Encouraged.
yeah, that's where the good games are made these days, I think. So yeah.
In music, or at least the musicians that one in particular often talks about like how the most important thing for him in the creative process is like that the time from idea to having that a sort of representation of that or whatever, like from conceptualization conceptualization to actual like product, the faster that is the
Mm,
better
mm,
for staying in some kind of flow, I guess.
yeah,
And that's what it can give. Like you said, if you had to make that little just button or whatever it is in the game by hand completely, it would take so long that you don't get the idea of how is this gonna look, and then you can tweak much more, I guess.
yeah, exactly like that. And and I mean that button is not like me hand drawing that button or me AI generating that button isn't gonna like change the player experience. It's like it doesn't matter. as long as if the button looks completely stupid, and it's like that doesn't look, you can see that it like that, how do I put it, like since I made all the graphics in the game, you would see if another artist if I outsource something to someone else, um, and then they did it completely separate from me, you would that asset would stick out. You would be like, that looks weird.
Yeah.
But because even AI is a tool, so even if I generate stuff like there would be like my kind of taste. If you know, like I like that style, and I think that style blends with this style. So if I'm a good artist, you hopefully won't notice, or the average person at least won't notice that okay, that might be AI, or if they're questioning it, like if they're sitting analyzing it, it might be AI. I don't care, but if the average person, I don't think they, and I think that's the most important thing. And if you open a song and it was like, it sounded bad, and it's like, okay, why do you use AI? Like, I think, yeah, if you use AI to get to what your vision is, it doesn't matter if it's like, I don't know. I think,
Yeah, you're never gonna compromise just for like the speed of it, I guess, or maybe sometimes, but mostly not. If you have a vision of how you want things to
yeah,
look and feel and sound.
yeah, as long as it hits my threshold, like, of course, I'm not always, but that, I mean, yeah, that's my vision isn't always to hit 100% on every asset. My vision is to complete the game, where everything, uh, where nothing sticks out in your eye, or like where nothing annoys you graphically. And yeah, I also had one. That's like a fun rule I had during development in Archons. It's like I can see a lot of things that are bad. Like, okay, that asset is not good. That tree looks like shit. But but I don't like. I know that I'm a graphic guy, and I will catch up on those things. But the 99% of the players won't. So whenever my programmer or designer, whenever one of those guys commented on something graphically, I was like, okay, that's not good enough. So they were
Mm.
like my threshold. So
Yeah.
whenever I was like, ah, fuck, I have to change that asset because they said something. It's not like I didn't know about it. Like, Johannes, do you think that stone really? I was, I'll remake it. It's like,
Sounds so funny if you don't have the context. Like, do you think that stone really is good looking enough?
it's a bit gray, that stone, don't you think? Yes, I know.
What about as an observer, like of other games? Do you ever take on that analytical lens and be like, yeah, I can see that they have been two designers here and that it's not quite like coherent?
Mm, I can see. I don't know if exactly that kind of example, but yeah, like in in that ballpark, yeah, it's like I see things all the time now, and it's like that's really annoying. Um, but mm, but yeah, I can still enjoy games a lot. But I feel like you really, yeah, you see the games in a different way. But I guess that's all. I mean, you probably feel that way with music. You maybe analyze it a bit more now than you did when you didn't know things about music. When you
Yeah,
just listened to a song, it was just a song.
you become more of a purist,
Mm,
but also an enthusiast. So it's got like, I feel like that always is the more powerful or like at least like a positive side of it,
mm,
because it could become so passionate and like I can dive to the depths of this even if a lot of what I now maybe consider like mediocre stuff I just have to put to the side and be like, yeah,
mm.
no, I'm not gonna look really that way that much.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like, yeah, I guess that's the same for all different subjects in the world. Like when you work with it, or when you get good at something, you see it completely different. For me, it's like when you play board games with some people that don't play games that much, and you play something really stupid, like that is totally based on their luck or something. You're like, you're sitting there like, but this game is so stupid. Like we could. why do we even play this? This it has no. But so sometimes it's like, yeah, it can be really, you can become almost cynical. Yeah, yeah. So, but like you say, it's also, you can really enjoy good games now and like enjoy like, oh, okay, this I didn't. I mean, I feel like that with Counter Strike still. I mean, we have played in the past, and it's one of those games that I like. I don't think about it like a game in that way. For me, it's such a well executed product, and it's like I can appreciate that in a different kind of way now. And like everything Valve does, I'm like, oh, that company is so great. So you have a different kind of, you can enjoy it even more than you did before. I mean, I've always enjoyed it, but I can enjoy it design wise now as well.
Mm. I guess the important thing with that kind of um, when you get really good at something or like really concentrate at understanding something, um, and you get that cynical enthusiast kind of paradox or whatever, it's the important thing is that what you're working towards is something that you really like want to, in the best case scenario. I started thinking about one of like the opening scenes in early The Office,
Mm-hmm.
when Jim is
The
like,
American or the
yeah, the
yeah, okay,
American,
yeah.
when Jim is like, I know how much this paper weighs and how much it costs in this quantities and whatever,
Yeah.
and he's like, what will I do with all this information? Because he's become incredibly adept at something that he doesn't really care about.
Yeah, yeah,
But if you do care, it's like worth the burden, I guess.
yeah, yeah. But that's something that I know that I know that I think you have said it sometime also, but that's like it's also like a common saying that I think it's also in that first True Detective season that I really enjoy. They're like they're the two cops there are like solving murders and like really depressing scenes, and like it's like the darkest kind of like murders that exists, and they put like things on the wall and it's like dead people, and then there's like, this comment like, be careful what you get good at or something like that.
Mm.
And that's like, yeah, it's so depressing to, if if you become a cop and you don't want that to become that, it's like, I'm really happy I'm in games. Let's put it like that, because I've always enjoyed games, and I'm like, I'm happy I did the effort to actually consider like, okay, what do I want to do? And yeah, it's like it paid off. It was a rough road, but I'm gonna do this for a while now, so I'm happy. Uh, I'm happy I put in the effort to think about it.
Yeah, I'm at that stage now, as
Mm.
you can maybe understand.
Yeah,
I remember, can't remember exactly all the forward and backward, but you went into like a history teaching degree
yeah.
before games. Was it more different things?
It was. I think I did. It was in Linköping. I did rhetorics, like different courses. I like try different things. I was like, I did some rhetorics course, and I did like not history, religion. It was religion teaching course,
Mm.
like religious science or something like that. Like 30 points, which is like a half a year. And I was like, no, this is not. But because I've always been interested in like, how do you say it in English? Peda Pedagogics. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Yeah. But I realized quickly, like, okay, this is not what I'm gonna be doing. And then it was like, my brother likes programming. I like games. Maybe I can be a game programmer. Went to Malmö, studied there for 2 years game programming, which was like, I am not a programmer, so it was really rough to complete all the courses. Like the math and the physics was pretty hard. Um, and then we had one course there, which was Introduction to 3D Art, which was like, hey, here's a course so you programmers can see what the other guys are doing. And I thought that was way more interesting. So then I quit immediately. Did some etablering SFE teaching for half a year, and then I went to Visby and studied 3D art there. Which is like, okay, so now I've studied like programming, which is on the one side of the spectrum, and then art, which is like the other side, and then VFX is kind of in the middle. So it's like uh, my road here to where I am now kind of made sense, even though it wasn't planned, but it was like, okay, I can see why I am where I am right now, and why my history makes like I got a competence that is like a bit unusual.
Mm.
Because usually people like go to one school and then they get a job immediately. So you can see like not copies of each other, but they have like taken the same road. So it's like they have, but you usually see with like maybe VFX artists that they had like a bit weird road into the gaming industry. They don't have the usual, yeah, the usual way.
And where do you see that low road leading? Like, what does your fingers really itch to be doing in the industry? Is it
Like
that, or is it something else?
for me, VFX has never been like, okay, I want to be a VFX artist. Like that's my biggest passion. It's always been, I think it's always been like just being creative in groups. I love like creativity. Uh, and creating games is one of the most like creative areas. Together with like, I think music is also in that, uh, like yeah, one of those subjects. And yeah, I could have, I could do like character artist. I could have become anything else as well. I think doesn't have to be like VFX, but now it ended up that way. But I'm still like in a profession where I can be creative, and I'm super happy with that. And like after Archons, it, I like to set goals that I know are reachable, because otherwise I don't see the point of it. Like if I say like if I'm working on Archons and I like set a goal like um okay, the studio in 5 years I'm gonna be in a studio that has 5 floors and 6,000 employees. There's no way of me, like I can't get there for sure. I might if the game hits really well, but there's no way of me knowing. So I rather set the goal, okay, I want to complete Archons and then reevaluate. I think that's a better goal. So that has been my way of thinking about goals. Um, and now I'm in that kind of, okay, I took it here. I'm on Hazelight. Like, okay, it's time for me to like reflect and like, okay, what do I want to do? But I've I'm really enjoying myself on Hazelight now, and I really think I need some time to breathe without being overproductive. So that's kind of where I see myself going now. Just taking a bit of well-earned hobby time and that kind of stuff. Not pushing too hard, like releasing the gas pedal a bit. But yeah, who knows? Like in the future, like I have so many. I have that's like my character trait is like I always get so many ideas of projects I want to do. Like I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to do that. I have so many things I want to do, so I usually have to like stop myself from taking on too many things. But so I won't have any issues finding stuff to do. But it's just like what cards do I want to play here?
Yeah. You told me when I was maybe like 13, 14 or something like that, because I think you saw maybe the same kind of tendency in myself. You know, I tried everything under the sun, and I only did it for 15 minutes because I had zero discipline, but all the, I guess, openness or creativity or whatever.
And skill. You were super good. That was what annoyed me or annoyed me. But like, I remember exactly what you're talking about because I was like, holy shit, you're becoming so good at things, like much faster than I was becoming good. When I tried similar things, I was like, I was never that good at that, and you did it for so short, and then you quit. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. But you told me that, well, you told me just that you should focus on like one thing, because I guess when you get to those depths that we have been discussing today, that's where the real like the fun begins, I guess, where there's meaning, where you can actually contribute something. At least that's how I've been thinking about it for the years since,
Mm,
and really struggling with it, not just because I kind of looked up to you, but because it really struck me as true, I guess.
mm,
And like, yeah, I see that this is a problem. I love doing things, but you can't just jump around because that leads to nothing really.
mm.
How much do you think that have been in like the forefront of your development?
Um, I think when I was in Malmö and I studied when I had big I was in Linköping and I quit the studies there and I went to Malmö and I was like, holy shit, I'm so bad at programming and I'm not as good as these other guys. I got to a, I I listened to I felt like also my discipline was really bad and I was like I didn't take care of myself and I played way too much games and it was like I was on a bad path and I also felt like I had given up on stuff earlier, like I didn't finish. But it was like, I mean, it's also okay not to finish everything you start. I mean, I don't if I would have had that mentality, I would like be a religion teacher now or something. I don't know. But
You would be enlightened.
ah. uh, yeah, but I remember there I had that kind of okay, I can't be in this school. I'm gonna quit. I quit Malmö and I went to Visby. And then the first day in Visby, like when I went to that school, I had moved and everything. A guy from the third year wrote to me because he had seen that, like, I guess he had seen that I had potential or something. And he said, like, you should quit. This school sucks. And I was like, I just moved here. Like, I can't quit again. It's like, I felt like pressure from both myself and like from people around me, but also I felt like okay, no, I'm gonna be here for these 3 years, but I'm gonna actually give it my all. And like that was also the time that I started listening to, or a little bit before that, I started listening to Jordan Peterson a lot and read his book 12 Rules and that kind of like really kicked off my discipline journey.
Mm.
Um, so there in that school, I was like doing the bare minimum on the school hours, and when I got home, I grinded and like watched YouTube videos and got that because the problem with those kind of schools are that they're so outdated, and you can easily see that on the teachers, like what they're teaching, and if you Google it, you're like, okay, that's not true, and that makes you lose respect in the teachers. So I just did the bare minimum and then, but yeah, that was kind of my, like we talked, like what your original question was like, okay, I need to like really dedicate myself to this and I'm gonna give it my all and I'm gonna become good at this. That was like uh, the first time I really, really did that in my like entire life, I would say, because with, I've been like, with, I've been a slacker like most of my life. I've had a hard time giving my everything to something, and yeah, I really felt it paid off when you put those extra percentage in.
What was the hardest part?
Mm, hmm. I think it was breaking habits is super hard. I think that was my like. It's so easy to fall back into your weaknesses. I kind of see that in I see it kind of interesting thing with when talking to people, especially I don't know, I don't have no stats about this, but I usually feel with men versus women that like women in my surrounding has this kind of perfectionist, usually this perfectionist I mean, it's super common in men as well, probably. But just from my circle, it's like, okay, uh, they they're really sometimes too precise with stuff, so they don't finish it. And they have to actively know that they have that tendency and be a slacker, and like they have to counter that personality with rationality or something like that.
Humility, maybe.
Yeah, something like, but for me it's like the other way around. I'm like a slacker in my foundation, and I have to push towards being a perfectionist, and I think that's kind of hard because that's something that never really stops, and I'm always afraid of, or not afraid, but yeah, a little bit afraid maybe of when you see those tendencies pop up in different areas, and like, ah, and now I'm that guy I don't want to be, and I haven't countered it enough because I know where that road leads. So that is something that I think is hard. I don't know. It was kind of a weird question, but you get a weird answer as well. I don't know, weird.
Yeah, well, I guess I see it in a bit what you talked about before, like with the trees, like which you would just leave, or the stones, which you
Mm,
would just leave if they like, I can focus on something more important.
yeah.
But then those other personalities, or whatever you want to call it, from the team was a
Mm,
good asset because they were like, I noticed this,
mm,
so, and you use that as a marker for like, this is where I have to move in the direction that is not natural for me.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I'm definitely the female type you described.
Mm, yeah.
Like super orderly, and like want things to be how I want them to be, but that's also kind of like a judgmental thing. It at least if it's combined with a lot of judgment, then that just stagnates anything that's
Mm,
creative. So I have to work on that constantly, um like writing, for example. I
mm,
always felt like this is the most useful thing I ever get to do in school settings and stuff like that,
mm,
because it's like, this is thinking, this is really thinking,
mm,
and trying to be articulate, like precise.
mm.
But got so perfectionist, so I tried to do everything at once. Like, this, before I go to the next sentence, this gotta be perfect, and that's
Mm,
impossible. You gotta
mm,
write something that's like kind of shit, and then a little less shit, and then really good.
mm. But yeah, what is it usually? I feel like, what is it they usually say? Like people who are um, that kind of perfectionist, it's hard to get started with things. But I don't know if that's kind of your, because I haven't really thought about you that way, but kind of makes makes sense that you're kind of a blend, maybe a little bit of, because I'm not, are you afraid of like failing and that kind of stuff? Like let's say you're gonna start something like this podcast, like example. I know those people I'm thinking about, they would never maybe even begin this because it would be so much, or yeah, I mean maybe they would, but it would take a lot of, I don't know if does it take a lot of effort for you mentally to do this, to not be like, holy fuck, you're putting so much pressure on yourself.
No, I wouldn't say so. I've always, or like as long as I can remember at least, have a lot of faith in my potential, I guess.
Mm,
But it's it's incredibly fun, engaging to be a beginner, right?
mm,
Because you can just be in that stage of continual development.
yeah,
But then comes that plateau,
yeah,
and that's what I never managed to get past. Like, I guess kind of still, but I've come a far way in understanding that that's something you have to do,
yeah,
and to do that you have to focus, and preferably it has to be something you're really interested in, because otherwise that adversity
mm,
is gonna be like, you don't have the motivation for doing something that hard if you don't really like it.
yeah. And it's also kind of a curse, I guess, to be, because you're kind of you're a thinking person, and it's kind of a curse to be that because you're aware, and it's like, okay, you're aware that what you do is gonna affect you long term, so whatever you do is gonna become really important. But for other,
uh,
I mean, for other people, it might be like they just accidentally ended up somewhere, and it's like, oops,
mm-hmm.
and then they might be lucky and they might not be lucky. But yeah, I can see how that it's kind of a feedback loop. Like, okay, you want to try things because you think it's really important what you do, but you also want to do something for a long time because you know the tendency that you have. Like, it feels like that can be a vicious wheel to be inside.
Yeah, I guess. Do you mean like, because it doesn't really resonate with me, because I know the like two or three things that I really
Hmm.
uh, are is passionate about.
Hmm.
Um, but that's still three and not one, maybe. But
Yeah, I mean, maybe those areas have sub areas within them or stuff like that. I don't know if you,
where you have to engage, like, and try things. You mean?
yeah, I mean, that's, if you take like, I assume it's one of those areas, music then,
Yeah.
because music is such a broad thing, I guess. But I mean, also it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't, if you know that, I guess, yeah, it doesn't hurt if you know that maybe, let's say you have only music, and you know that that's what I want to do. It doesn't really damage you if you're like, okay, I want to try electronic music and like be a producer for a while, and then you go and do, okay, maybe that wasn't it 1 year down the line. I mean, of course, that doesn't damage you the same way if you wanted to be a plumber all of a sudden. Like, then the drumming experience you have doesn't translate to plumbing. But yeah, uh, but yeah, I guess what are the other two things that you have?
Um, I mean, like the I really want to grasp and understand culture in general. So like literature and philosophy and stuff like that.
Mm,
I'm really interested in. I don't know if that's kind of something I just want to have because I want to understand the world. I guess it's not something I'm really pursuing as a career thing.
mm,
Um, and then I guess this kind of discussions and um, well, this kind of format of media, I guess.
mm,
Not because it puts you out there, but just because I enjoy it so much,
yeah,
both doing it and listening to it. And I think it's like the the other part of writing that I said. Like writing is where you really concretize your thoughts and get the chops in like communication and understanding. And this is like the improvisation where
Yeah.
new things like blossom that you can really dive into.
Yeah.
Always when I have discussions that are deeper than just small talk, we start discussing things and I have to articulate myself, and I find that shit, I didn't really hit that. I didn't make them understand. I gotta go like get this shit together.
Yeah. Yeah.
How am I gonna formulate this? Because it's important that we can have this exchange and learn.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I can get annoyed by that sometimes, but like that thing when you that feeling when you're like I know that I know, but I can't explain it, and you get like and then it's like, yeah, like you say, it's improvisation. That's kind of a, yeah, I guess I don't think I haven't thought about it that way, but yeah, it really is like music in that kind of way that you sit and you improvise and you, yeah.
And then you hit the wrong key, like, or something. If you got a bit of vocabulary, say on piano, for example, like I know what this is gonna sound like, and then like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, what's this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then it in a conversation, I guess that's also like if you have a drummer or something, or the other person like keeps on playing, it doesn't really disrupt anything in the scheme of things. But yeah, if one keeps playing the wrong notes the entire, I mean, sometimes you have people you can't discuss, you can't talk with them. It's like you have no chemistry at all, and then I guess that's also like with music, you're playing different genres or something at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way in like a collaborative way with music, but for sure. Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work because I guess we try to be as open as possible, like just stay in the mode of questioning, like mostly. I guess I do that because I feel like I know almost nothing, you know. So I just have to discuss things like they're open questions. But some people are, I know this and I know this and I know this, and then it gets super difficult.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I really enjoy like I enjoy openness, but I can also enjoy like when you feel you have confidence in an area and discussing it. That's also a thing that I mean it's but for me it has been uh like I have shifted a bit in that what if I'm interested in talking about certain things. Like before I was super interested in talking like politics and economics and that kind of stuff, because I was learning about it a lot for some reason. Like I really wanted to but I've always been like a um I felt like I had a conflict in myself. Like I'm like half on the left and half on the right spectrum of like politics and economics and that kind of stuff. But so at some point I was like, okay, I want to understand some things. And then I started delving into that, and it's like, okay, that became really important to talk to people and making people understand what I thought and what I saw as true. But at some point, that has also been like when I has reflected on like selfishness and like what is important to me and what gives me value in my life. Like when reflecting upon those discussions, they usually just um, they're not really giving me anything except from it's like, I guess it's going into a boxing match or something like that. It's like it's exciting in the moment, but I don't think it's good for me in the long term. I don't know. Maybe boxing matches can be good somehow, but I
But
don't
you
know.
come out brain damaged and
Yeah, so just, I mean, it's not what I want to do. I much prefer like personal discussions and about who is this person and like what drives that person, or why did that person do why does it behave like that, and like I like getting closer to those kind of discussions now rather than yeah like uh, but yeah, what you're interested in discussion has really like it's like you
mm,
feel like a completely different person sometimes.
I guess that's also I found the exception with like um, the in the case of the ability to talk with someone who is like kind of rigid,
Mm,
that you can always accept when they're talking from personal experience
mm,
because you can't really question that much, you know. Um, if they were to talk about some societal facts or
mm,
whatever, some
yeah,
movements, and they think this is right, this is wrong, then you're like, yeah, maybe you got to be a bit more open about that. But if they're talking about this I have experienced and I appreciate it in this manner or
mm.
didn't appreciate it, then you can always kind of accept that because that's just your experience, you know.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to, because you want to, I mean, I want to, like, I want to trust my, uh, like, which persons sometimes you find people that you like, okay, I trust this person, and I take what they say, uh, as something like, if it resonates with me. But yeah, it doesn't hit me to 100% if I, let's say, see something with my own eyes. So obviously, I don't know I forgot what that is called, like, something. Um, is it induction or, yeah, I don't know. Deduction, maybe. No, induction isn't. But it's like, then I can really take it and I can believe in it 100%. But whenever you listen to someone, or if you tell me something about a fact or whatever, then it's, yeah, sure, I can use that fact in discussions and debates or whatever, but yeah, whenever if you listen to like Destiny on YouTube or and when he's bringing up statistics from I mean I like that, but even in those cases when you bring up like studies in the discussions and you point to like different numbers and it's like yeah, I have a hard time totally taking it in 100% and making it like okay, believing in it 100% because of yeah, like what you say, because
That's not
it's
what science is.
no, exactly, it's like okay, it
It's a
might change,
process.
yeah, it might change, but then I mean there are facts in the world and it's like yeah, I don't deny that, it's just that, and I believe that you can get uh to truths, like objective truths about stuff, but uh then you have to put in the work, and then you have to be really interested in that area and that kind of stuff. But I feel like that for me, it's like I'm not that interested in that kind of stuff. It's interesting to have clues about how things work, but yeah, it has been something that I like actively backed off of because I felt it took up too much energy for me to try to understand certain things in the world.
Yeah. You mentioned this where you are in the arc right now, like just taking a bit more free time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What else than full hockey games are you engaged in?
I think I don't think I don't even know if I'm gonna watch. I might watch the final season of the hockey games or something, but the playoffs. But I've been like, first of all, like being in a relationship takes dedication and time, so that's one thing, and that's like um, but then it's been like, okay, um, I've I'm gonna do some traveling, that's for sure. Like going out in Europe this summer, and I'm going to San Francisco in March. So those kind of stuff, I'm allowed to do that. But also I've been thinking, I was like, oh, should I do something with music? Something, maybe integrate music into my, create a scene or something, and then use music to that scene. I haven't really used music in any way. I've been thinking about that, so I bought like a sound card, so I could actually record music on my computer and that kind of stuff. But I'm not sure. I also like started reading again. I bought a camera, like an analog camera. Started taking photos. Really, really suck at it. But it's kind of like, uh, yeah. I was eating dinner with a friend yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a motorcycle card this or what do you say, driver license, motorcycle license this summer." And that was another like, oh, that would be so fun to have. But yeah, it's one of those, you like, okay, I'm just gathering to my deck now, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. Would you have more things? I probably have like 1 million more things. I also wanted to do like smaller projects. Like I still can be productive. Like I can do, maybe I can like create this thing in 3D and sell it if I get inspired to do something. Okay, maybe I want to create a guitar or something, and in 3D, um, because I already have my company set up and all of that kind of stuff, so I can. And it's fun to do personal projects when you have a when you're creating someone else's vision all the time on the regular job. It's kind of fun to sometimes, uh, yeah, get your own ideas out there, especially when like a game is such a long project. It's like, okay, I'm gonna dedicate 3 or 4 years of my life to this, but it's I don't want to become afraid of doing my own stuff. It's just I want to be careful on taking on too long projects again.
Mm. What do you think of the games that your company makes? Like quite different, not very mechanical, more aesthetics, I guess.
Yeah. For me, like it's not my kind of games. It's I know that they're like objectively really good games because I mean, if it depends on what metrics you have, I guess. But if you use the kind of scores, and I
The
mean we,
market, maybe.
yeah, the market, and like I mean we literally won Game of the Year with the last title. But it's I think, yeah, for me it's just way too story driven. But I mean, it's also co-op, and co-op is always fun. I mean, you and me could play Pong together, and it's fun because it's like you talk, and it's like, okay, you can do whatever, and it will be fun. So that's like a cheat code if you're gonna create games, like create co-op games, because you get away with so much. It can, uh, but if you would remove the co-op element, would this game really hold up? Like, yeah, you can ask that about a lot of co-op games, but yeah, I think Hazelight has found a good niche, and like with Joseph at the helm, it's like he's such a creative guy, and he knows how to feed the creativity from the other people, and like yeah, the really really amazing work. How do you say, environment? So yeah, but yeah, not my type of video games.
Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
Thanks again for being the first guest. And if you want to plug Archons or whatever you got going on, you can do so now. Tell them where people can find it and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can try it out on Steam. There's a demo, so you can try it for free. Yeah, it's Archons. Some people have trouble spelling that, but yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. As it's I hope we can do it again sometime in face to face. It would be fun to visit you there in Trosa.
For sure. Thank you.